So there's this guy who killed 17 people, and instead of being forgotten, he ended up with a Hollywood movie made about him. Wild, right? And honestly, he's just one of many. Today we're talking about 5 serial killers whose names became impossible to forget. Let's get into it. Jack the Ripper, the man nobody ever found. Okay, so imagine this. It's 1888, London, dark, foggy streets, gas lamps flickering, and somewhere in the Whitechapel neighborhood, women are disappearing, and nobody can figure out who's doing it. 5 women were killed between August and November of that year. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. Real women with real names, and the world barely remembered them because all anyone could talk about was the killer. He called himself Jack the Ripper. He wrote mocking letters to the police. He taunted them, and then he just vanished. To this day, nobody knows who he was. Over 100 suspects have been named across 130 years of investigation, and still, nothing. He got away with it. That's what makes this case so deeply unsettling. Not just the crimes, but the silence after. Jack the Ripper wasn't just a murderer. He was the moment the world realized some monsters never get caught. John Wayne Gacy, the man at the birthday party. I want you to picture the most trustworthy person in your neighborhood. Friendly, helpful, throws great parties, volunteers, dresses up as a clown to entertain kids at birthday celebrations. That was John Wayne Gacy, and behind that image was something absolutely horrifying. Gacy was a building contractor in Chicago, popular guy, people liked him, but underneath the floorboards of his own house, investigators found the bodies of 29 young men and boys. He had killed 33 in total. What really gets me about this case is how long it went on. Years. Right there in a suburban neighborhood. Neighbors said they noticed a smell sometimes. And yet, nobody connected the dots. There's a quote people always bring up about Gacy. He once said a clown can get away with murder. And the terrifying thing is, for years, he did. He was executed in 1994. But the real question his case left behind was this: how well do we actually know the people around us? Ted Bundy, the one everyone trusted. Ted Bundy is probably the name most people think of first when they hear serial killer. And there's a reason for that, because his story breaks every single assumption you might have about what a killer looks like. He was good-looking, well-spoken. He studied law. He volunteered at a suicide prevention hotline, genuinely helping people, while at the same time living a completely different secret life. He killed dozens of young women across multiple states throughout the 1970s. He escaped from prison twice. The second time, he drove across the country, changed his identity, and kept killing. And here's the part that still messes with people. Women wrote him love letters while he was on trial. People were fascinated by him. He gave legal commentary on his own case to reporters. He thrived on the attention. When he was finally executed in Florida in 1989, crowds gathered outside the prison and cheered. People held up signs. It was this strange, dark carnival atmosphere. Bundy's case taught law enforcement something they'd never fully understood before: that danger doesn't always look dangerous. Sometimes it smiles at you and holds the door open. Jeffrey Dahmer, the neighbor, nobody checked on. I'll be honest with you, the Dahmer case is the one that's hardest to talk about, not just because of what he did, but because of how many times the system had a chance to stop him and didn't. Jeffrey Dahmer killed 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. His crimes involved things that I'll leave to your imagination, but they were deeply disturbing on every level. But here's what I keep coming back to. One of his victims actually escaped, ran out into the street, flagged down police officers, and those officers, who had received complaints about Dahmer before, walked that young man back to Dahmer's apartment and left. He was killed that same night. Dahmer was eventually caught in 1991 when another victim managed to escape and show police his handcuffs. When investigators entered that apartment, what they found changed everyone who walked in that door. He was sentenced to 957 years in prison. 2 years later, a fellow inmate killed him. What Dahmer's case really opened up was a conversation we needed to have about who gets believed when they report something wrong, about mental health, about the communities that get ignored. That conversation is still going on today. Harold Shipman, the doctor who decided who lived. And here we are. Number 1, and I promise you, this one is going to stay with you. Harold Shipman was a doctor, a general practitioner in a small town in England. His patients were mostly elderly. They trusted him completely. Some of them genuinely adored him. He was killing them. For years, possibly decades, Shipman was injecting his patients with lethal doses of morphine during routine house visits. Then he'd calmly write up their death certificates, natural causes, old age, heart failure, and everyone believed him because he was the doctor. When investigators finally looked closely, they found he had killed at least 218 people, possibly 250 or more, which makes him one of the most prolific serial killers in all of recorded human history. He wasn't caught because of brilliant detective work. It was actually a local family doctor, a woman named Dr. Linda Reynolds, who noticed something strange. Too many of Shipman's patients were dying, too many death certificates. She raised the alarm. Shipman was convicted in 2000. He died in his prison cell in 2004 and took most of his answers with him. We still don't know exactly how many people he killed. We probably never will. What this case did was change medicine in the UK forever. New oversight systems, new checks on prescriptions. Death certificates now require a second doctor's signature. He broke something that took years to rebuild: trust.